story of the worst Philly cheesesteak of all time. But first, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more content like this, food reviews, and general insanity. Technically, the worst Philly cheesesteak isn't even a cheesesteak or anywhere even remotely close. And that's part of the problem, but I'll get to that. Philadelphia is a rich cultural metropolis with history, the arts, and every manner of cuisine, but it's primarily known for soft pretzels and cheesesteaks. I've previously covered Pennsylvania's longtime affiliation with pretzels and how German immigrants brought these twisted treats to America in the 19th century, though they were invented at least 1,200 years earlier. The cheesesteak is much younger, comparatively speaking, going back to the early 20th century. According to Philly lore, Pat and Harry Olivieri first toured with the idea of chopped beef and grilled onions on a roll in the early 1930s. And no, I didn't forget something critically important that's in the name of the sandwich. The famous Philly cheesesteak was dairy-free for decades. After Pat and Harry's new concoction took off, they opened a restaurant in 1940 which became Pat's King of Steaks. And that Philly icon is still there at 1237 East Passyunk Avenue, right across the street from its rival Geno's, which opened in 1966. Today, there's countless takes on the humble Philly cheesesteak, including one that'll run you $130 and comes with Wagyu ribeye and champagne. But the basics are pretty consistent. Thinly sliced ribeye, usually sauteed onions, and then either Cheese Whiz, provolone, or American cheese on a long roll. And from there, there's a good bit of variety. Some add mushrooms, some subtract the cheese, and if you really want to go crazy, you can forgo the beef altogether and go with chicken or a vegetarian substitute. And like most cuisine with a proud cultural legacy, the cheesesteak has been appropriated by all manner of fast food giants and famous chefs. And so we got misfires like the McPhilly cheesesteak, which is exactly what it sounds like, McDonald's ill-advised attempt to recreate a regional favorite that's far outside of its lane. And that was bad, but it wasn't the all-time epic disaster of Burger King's Philly Cheese King. Where McDonald's at least tried to get it right, Burger King just said, "F*** it," and traded chopped ribeye for a double burger with caramelized onions and American cheese on a sesame seed or sourdough bun. And Burger King apparently spent all their R&D dollars on advertising because their ingenious plan was a mix of petty insults and an elaborate publicity stunt. First, they released a commercial showing actual Philadelphians trying and liking the Philly Cheese King, despite their misgivings. The locals were filmed in front of a Burger King and both Pat's and Geno's, who each had a very political response to the whole deal. Geno's manager said, "We're not going to lose customers, they might gain customers." While Pat's owner, Frank Olivieri, said, "Not that I necessarily endorse it, but I let them film the commercial here." Blink twice if you're in trouble or don't feel like going to war with a multi-billion-dollar fast food conglomerate. At the same time, Burger King issued a press release to both insult the traditional Philly cheesesteak and play to the Philly base with a bold-faced lie. After finding the fundamental flaw in the traditional Philly cheesesteak, we decided to launch the Philly Cheese King Burger. But apparently, one Philadelphia location wasn't having it and refused to carry the Philly Cheese King to, quote, honor the traditional recipe. All of this, mind you, in an official Burger King press release. It doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to smell this load of bullshit. I probably don't need to tell you this, but if a lone franchisee actually did refuse to carry a major new release, Burger King wouldn't air their dirty laundry in an official press release. They just bring the hammer down on them. But none of that matters because Burger King's publicity stunt and schoolyard taunting paid massive dividends. Press outlets as far and wide as the Philly Voice, Thrillist, Food and Wine, and even Time reported on the single restaurant's heroic stand against a corporate behemoth trying to put the kibosh on tradition. A few lone dissenters called out the obvious bullshit, but they were drowned out by the hundreds who bought this obvious charade that was about as real as pro wrestling. But okay, putting aside the less than truthful ad campaign, how is the actual cheeseburger steak? Well, near as I could tell, it was fairly repulsive. If you went in with zero expectations, saw no ads, and already liked BK burgers, I suppose it wasn't awful, But if you expected anything remotely similar to a Philly cheesesteak or even a halfway decent homage, you'd be horrified. And at the end of the day, it wasn't all that different from a normal double cheeseburger, plus grilled onions. So for all those reasons, it's shady ad campaign, it's total ignorance, and the sheer balls to say that a double cheeseburger corrects the so-called fundamental flaw in the traditional Philly cheesesteak, I'd call Burger King's Philly Cheese King the single worst Philly cheesesteak of all time. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.